2.7, guys. CPI 2.7. Welcome in. Welcome. 2.7 versus 2.8 expectations. CPI data out. That's the number. That is the number. That's the number everyone's watching. 2.7 versus 2.8 expectations. Market is moving higher, slightly off the data release. Slight reaction. I mean, I wouldn't say this is slight. This is pretty substantial, but we are back at levels here. We are back at levels. Welcome in, guys. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. What happened Monday? Nothing happened Monday. Nothing happened Monday. It feels like Monday again today. Welcome in, everybody. How's everybody doing? Welcome. A lot to go over this morning. CPI data coming out live. We have reactions to the market here, pretty big reactions, but we are right back at the same spot. Nothing's changed here, right? So we're gonna talk about this today, right? This is gonna be a big discussion. What happens today with CPI being out and market reacting higher, right? This is a pretty substantial move higher in the market, but it's one of those substantial moves that isn't changing anything really, because the market is just simply back where we were yesterday's session at 12 o'clock, right? So big reaction to the upside here, but is it substantial? No, because we haven't broken anything. And we're going to talk about some things today. I'll talk about what market has to do to substantiate more upside, right? First of all, welcome in. Yes, that is true, NorCal. Yes, it is absolutely true. That is 100% true, right? That is a good view as well, is to look at the market coming in now with this low formed here at 635 as a very key pivot, right? Because what NorCal is saying is, even though we haven't broken any key levels, we have formed a low in the market, right? And I absolutely agree with what he's saying there as well. And we're going to talk about that today's session. I mean, do we break out? Is this the breakout day today? Do we get the breakout, right? 639 breakout would be that breakout move we're all waiting for. So, guys, we are here live. It is 8:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everything I say and do today is live, as always, but I have done very little preparation to the market besides just very baseline preparation, because so many things are moving right now pre-market, where you and I are going to be going through things live, and you must understand that. It's different from a normal YouTube live, because I don't have levels in front of me. I do, obviously, but it's going to be live because these things are happening right now, moving a lot, and we are going to have to go over things and reassess the different levels. And we are breaking out right now. Oh, this is going to be a fun session. The market is breaking out right now on the S&P. Let's see what happens here on SPY today, but this is going to be an incredibly volatile session. Let's dive into it, guys. Let's absolutely dive into it. First of all, we have 700 people here this morning. I want to do a quick run through scan of all my tickers very fast. I want to just dive into everything very quickly, just to get a view, like a bird's eye view, and then we're gonna jump into this in a second. So ES obviously back at the same level from yesterday's session, 43.40 or 64.30. So we'll go over that in a minute as well. Big level here in ES, big level demand here in ES as well. We'll talk about that. Qs back at that 576 supply. We'll go over Tesla. I mean, just Tesla is interesting, guys. I mean, this is probably the most bullish thing I'm seeing right now in the market is this Tesla chart, 338 break and retest. Very, very big level here of technical support. Does Tesla build now over 346? We'll go over AMD, guys. We'll talk about AMD. I think I'm way too close to the mic right now. Way too close to the mic. AMD, we'll talk about AMD, that 176 level. We're going to go over NVDA. NVIDIA also obviously very bullish. Look at this NVIDIA chart. It's just screaming to break out now over that 184. Let's trade this today if it clears out. We're going to go over Meta. Meta, you bet I'm probably not trading this, but look at the chart. It is actually still very bullish. We're going to go over Apple as well. Apple. Why am I lagging here? Apple. We'll go over Apple 230. We'll go over AMD and that 176 level today's session. So already went over AMD. I meant to say Amazon. Amazon over that. What is going on with my keyboard today? It's actually my keyboard that is typing in random Random things today. Lots of randomness here today's session. Can't control that. But 220 big level here in Amazon, and we're going to discuss this level today. So we have a lot of big things to talk about. It's 8:38 a.m. It's a CPI data day. Let's dive into it. So without further ado, economic data. We'll go back to this in a second. On the economic data, today's session is Tuesday, August 12th, CPI data release. The numbers are as follows. 2.7% versus 2.8% expectations. Meaning, what does that mean? That means that the data came out better than expectations. The median forecast for this session was 2.8%. We came out CPI year over year at 2.7%. So we had a beat year over year. The consumer price index, inflation index, month over month was simply just 0.3 versus 0.3. So that was as expected, but the year over year was slightly better. How does that work? I don't know. But again, the year over year is better, but the month over month is the same. So that's what the market is reacting to today. In terms of other data for today's session, the other data we have for today's session is at 10:30 or 10 o'clock rather. We have Barkin speaking at 10 o'clock. We have more Fed speakers at 10:30. And besides that, that's all we have for today's session. Now, CPI data days are interesting because these are some of the most volatile sessions. During CPI, which is today, August 12th, and the day after CPI, Wednesday, August 13th, are very volatile sessions. Be aware of that. I back tested myself, and I'll tell you guys this honestly, it doesn't matter to you guys, but this is something that I looked at for myself. The day of FOMC and the day after FOMC, my average P&L on the day of FOMC and the day after FOMC is minus $3,000. That is my average. That is historically how I perform on Tuesday, or really not Tuesday because again, it differs on the CPI days, but the day of CPI and the day after CPI, my average P&L is minus $3,000, okay? That's for me. And obviously, that's not usually the case, right? The point that I'm trying to say is this is going to be a volatile session. Let's be aware of that, okay? Again, I'm going to trade today. I'm going to be here today, right? But understand today's session is going to be an interesting session because, again, you have a lot of volatility, okay? In terms of other data today on the earnings docket, there really is nothing, right? You can see Tuesday we had Circle Premarket, SE Premarket. In the after hours today, we have CoreWeave, CRWV, and we have Kava also in the after hours today, okay? Giveaway. So while we have everybody here, these are the giveaway numbers. These are the giveaway numbers. We had over 600 entries here on the giveaway, something like that. A lot of entries here. I'm not going to go through everything. I'm not going to scroll through everything. You guys just have to trust me in this one. These are the winners: Lamar Garrett, NorCal Bill, Kamani Batista, and Asi Pompey. Okay, that's what it is. So guys, send me a message on Instagram if you can. If you guys are here, I'm curious, is anybody here pre-market? Any of you guys here, NorCal Bill, Kamani, Aussie, Lamar, is anyone here in the pre-market session watching this morning? If they're not, it's okay. I give everybody 2 days to respond back to me. So I think I saw NorCal. I saw NorCal in the chat. NorCal is here. NorCal Bill is here. So NorCal Bill is here. And then we're missing 3 others, but we'll get to them as we... I'm sure they'll be here. And if they don't respond in 2 days, then we're going to give it to the next person. Okay? Right. So moving on. Let's move on, guys. Let's go over it. Let's go over everything today. SPY is breaking out. Let's make my face substantially smaller. I'm going to make everything smaller. Let's go there. That's the size I want to be. So we are a lot more focused on charts now. I feel like I'm very tiny in the bottom left here, but that's fine. That doesn't matter. So, okay. What's going on here in SPY? So right now, obviously, market is responding to our CPI data. And yesterday's session, we had 2 very big levels. The levels that we discussed yesterday's session were our big supply above us, which was 639. And we kind of recognized this as the all-time high, right? We recognize the 639 as the all-time high, even though it isn't quite the all-time high. Obviously, 641.50 is the all-time high, but this is the after-hours all-time high. So we recognize this 639 as our real all-time high, right? And in the session yesterday, right, you saw we pretty much just formed a high on Friday at 639, and then we formed a pre-market high here at 639. We fell back lower and off again that 639 level, and we retraced back to our demand zone 635, and that was our day, right? Our day yesterday was simply just staying within a big level of resistance and a big level of demand, and we stayed sandwiched in between these two levels all session. Now, in the pre-market this morning, we are seeing a break and hold above that 639 level as technical resistance. We're seeing us break and hold above it right now. And the question we have to ask ourselves this morning is, what happens above 639? Okay, where's the next level? Above 639, we have 641.50, right? But that's not what's important for me right now. What's important for me right now is kind of looking at the overall structure here. The overall structure is more important to me on SPY right now. And the reason what I mean by that is the fact that we formed a low here, right? And then a high here, a low here and a high here, a low here and a high here, and a low here. So right now, we can derive from this chart that we are bullish on the S&P as long as we are above 635, right? And this was our thesis before, but it's also our thesis now, right? Our thesis now is we are bullish as long as SPY maintains above 635, because technically this would be a higher low. So right now here on the S&P, we are looking to see, okay, if we are above the 635, we're looking for longs. So my main mindset today is going to be, let's look for longs off 639, right? Upside move. Let's look for longs out 635, upside move, right? Those are the two things I'm watching for today's session here in SPY. As long as we are above that 635, I'm bullish. And even if we fail below 639, we are still bullish, right? Do we fail? If we lose 639 though, I argue that we go back to 635. This would be a bearish intraday move, but we are still bullish. You understand what I'm saying there, right? If we lose 639, we see downside into 635. It's a bearish intraday move, but we are still hourly time frame bullish. Very, very important, very important sort of thing to say, right? As long as we are above 635, we're bullish. If we do lose 639, right, then yes, there is downside intraday on the 5-minute time frame. You see some small intraday candles back into 635, in which case we can scalp that for shorts, right? But we are still bullish as long as we are above that 635. Therefore, if we pull back to 635 today, what are we watching out for? Watching for longs. If we lose 635, all hell breaks loose and we see downside back down lower. The reason why I'm even talking about this today is because during FOMC days and even the day after FOMC, you tend to see very vicious trend days. This is part of the reason why I don't perform so well during FOMC sessions, is because if you try to get against the grain of the market, against the grain of the trend, right, you tend to get slapped in the face with the textbook, right? And so sometimes, even though usually I'll do well during CPI days, I've taken a few 6K losses, 7K losses, right? Where, you go against that trend and it's no cute bounces, right? The market just goes lower or goes higher. So today's session, watch for that, right? Be smart today. If we see us lose 639 today, hey, kind of be cautious going long, because we probably move back to 635. If you see us lose 635 today, oh shit, we're going lower into 631.50 and into 628. Again, that's what I'm looking for today's session here in SPY. Looking to see, are we above 639? Okay, if we do, break and retest upside trade. If we pull back under 639, back down into 635. Okay, so again, I'm basically just sort of reiterating our levels from yesterday's session, right? 639, 635 as our key technical pivots going into our Tuesday morning, right? On the ES chart, it is all about 6430, which was our 639 equivalent, right? This is my equivalent of SPY. Or my SPY equivalent to 6430 is, of course, SPY 639, right? So, I mean, if you're looking for an aggressive break and retest today, it's right in front of you. It's right in front of you, right? This is the chart right now. If you're looking for an aggressive break and retest, it's this, right? Look to see, can our previous day highs turn into support here right now? If it does, break, retest, upside trade back into highs here, right? That's your first and most logical scenario today, right? This is the most logical scenario today here in SPY, or ES rather, right? If we see a hold above this 639 level SPY or 6430 here ES, then obviously look for the break and hold back higher to 6460. If you see us lose back under this 6430, right? If you see us back under these Monday's highs, these Friday's highs, these Thursday's highs, then of course we're going to go lower, right? We're going to go lower. We'll go lower back into 63.90. But of course, again, this is still just a big higher low, right? And at that point, we can still look for longs there. So looking for longs here, looking for shorts there, or looking for a maintenance above 64.30 for longs. These are the three scenarios I have today. Scenario 1, Scenario 2, and Scenario 3. Let's just be smart about this today, right? As long as we are above 64.30 here, ES, or 639 SPY, the momentum is hot and the market's going higher. If we lose 639, then possibly some downside back into a key demand. But again, we are not bearish. We're still just pulling back into another key demand zone. Let's be mindful of these things today, okay? On the QQQ chart, the same thing on SPY, right? This is the same thing. We have a high produced here Thursday, July 31st. This is the all-time highs on the QQQ chart, and we produced an all-time high again here on Monday, the 11th of August. And right now, pre-market, you are seeing us start to break and hold above it. But the question is, do we have the juice? Okay, above this 576, we are in what we would consider a P, D, M move, right? A price discovery mode move. So at this moment here on Qs, as long as we are above 576, we are technically bullish and we move back higher. If we lose 576, then we go back into 572. But again, look at this on the Qs today, right? We spoke about this in detail yesterday. What did we say yesterday here in Qs? We said 576 supply, 572 demand. Nothing has changed. Fundamentally, everything is the same as what it was yesterday. If you knew yesterday not to be long at supply, you did well yesterday. Okay, that was the idea. Now, today's session, we are above supply. So if we are above supply, look for longs above supply, which in this case is 576. If you see us back down under our supply, turn demand, and we go back under 576, then back into 572. But of course, as you know, we have a low here, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low. And right now, as long as we're above 572, we are bullish. So the market is structurally bullish right now, pre-market. Do we see failures today? Let's see what happens, right? But as of right now, we look strong. Okay, if we're above 576, the momentum and the temperature is hot. The thermostat is set to 95 right now, right? The thermostat is set to 95. As long as we're above 576, as long as we're above SPY 639, the thermostat is set very hot. Okay, moving on. What we're gonna do is we're gonna dive into tickers right now. I want to spend time today going into everything we have to go over. So what do we have right now? We have 1,000 plus viewers here pre-market, and we have 300 likes. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. That's 30%. I try to get to at least 50%. Guys, get to 50%. That would be my goal today. Try to get to 50%. All right. So let's dive into this. Let's go over first ticker of today's session. Let's talk about Tesla. So kind of continuing with the theme of red hot market. Okay, red hot market right now, temperature 95 on the thermostat. Well, Tesla is one of those, okay? And Tesla is one of those because we are seeing us maintain above a key level of resistance, right? We had a level of resistance here at 338, 338, 338, and Tesla is systemically moving higher after maintaining above 338. Even pre-market right now, what did you see happen here, right? You saw a break and retest at 338 yesterday, right, upside, and then into our close, we pull back to 338, which is our demand zone, and now we are back above it, maintaining here, right? So here, Tesla is very red hot. And Tesla, like I said before, we said this yesterday pre-market too. We said that Tesla, as long as Tesla is above this 330 level, it's bullish. But we don't want to take longs here at 330. What we want to do is we want to take longs above the highs because Tesla is best traded during momentum. And you guys saw that yesterday, right? I mean, a lot of the things we say pre-market are generally right. You can see yesterday above that 338, there was a beautiful break and we just upside trade, and the momentum was very strong. Okay, now today on Tesla is nothing different from what it always is. Tesla is still red hot. If you're looking for anything today in Tesla, look for us to clear above 346. If we can clear above this 346.50 level, this green level, then we go higher. So look for today, either look for scenario 1, a break and hold above 346.50 for longs, right? Look for this, or look for this. That's what it is today, right? Scenario 1, or scenario 2. Those are the two things I'm watching today in Tesla, right? As long as Tesla is above 338, it's bullish. If we lose 338, back down bearish, back in 330, right? That's very simple here, okay? As long as Tesla is above 338, it's bullish. If we pull back to 338, look for longs. If we lose 338, then obviously back down lower into 330, okay? Joshua, thank you, Joshua. Much appreciated. Much appreciated, Joshua. Thank you, Joshua Garrison. Always, yes, we'll go over Meta. You know what? We'll do Meta next. So let's do Meta next. Meta. So, okay, here in Meta, it's been in this channel for a long time. And you can see that the channel is going to break soon, right? The channels can maintain for a certain amount of time before eventually a lot of long interest builds up here and a lot of short interest builds up here. And eventually this ping pong, right, has to break out, okay? The tennis court, right, eventually the ball is going to go over the net or over the back wall or something, right? Very bad analogy. But eventually what's going to happen here is something's going to happen either above here or below here, okay? And at this point, I mean, for a while, I was saying, look for this. I was saying, look for Meta at support, look for Meta resistance at supply, and look for shorts here at supply, look for longs here at demand. I would now no longer do that because I think that Meta is going to break at some point. Okay, I think it will. I think it's going to break above 784 or 785, and it's going to rip higher, or it's going to break down under 761, and it's going to dump lower. Especially now that we just had our major CPI data release, right? Which is this, right? Major CPI data release happened this morning. Okay. What's that going to cause? It's probably going to cause some trend day action here on some of these beta names. So look for Meta on strength. Okay. Look for Meta on strength, either I would say at this point above 780 into 784, above 784 into 800 probably at this point, right? And the all-time highs here on Meta, if you zoom out for a second, is where we're at right now. So a break and hold above that 785, 784 would give us 800 without question, right? I shouldn't say without question, but very likely is where we go to, okay? So watch Meta above 780. If it does clear 780 upside, I mean, at this point, it is bullish, right? It's bullish because it's holding these lows here, right? So does this break out today? Possibly, right? This could be a nice name to watch for longs. Okay, Fancy, yes, we'll do Kava. We absolutely do Kava. Let me just go through the AMD and the NVIDIAs, and then we'll go over Kava. Thank you very much, Fancy. So AMD yesterday was about 176. So yesterday, this was a name that I was watching. I didn't trade this though. I really didn't trade this. But I was watching it for longs above 576. Sorry, 176. You can see 176 break and hold, 176 break, retest 176 upside. Okay, so a little bit upside here on AMD, but it was short-lived, right? You see a little bit of a whim-wham, right? This was just a whim-wham yesterday, okay? Now today on AMD, if I'm watching for anything, I'd be watching for this to clear back above 176, right? If it can clear back above the same breakout level from yesterday's session, the 176, the 176, the 176, I would be looking for a break and retest above that 176 for longs back to 180, right? So watching this today, there's a clear 176. If it does, upside. Right now, AMD is bullish as long as it's maintaining above 170, 150. So we are looking for longs in this chart as long as it's above this low. And if it is, looking for longs above 176, momentum into 180. Okay, that's what I'm doing here on this chart. It's bullish with the big capital B as long as it's above 170, 150. Therefore, if we clear above 176 and change, I can look for scalp longs back into this 180 level for a retest long entry. Okay, that's all I'm doing here on AMD's chart. Moving on, NVIDIA. You guys are gonna know what I'm gonna say here in NVIDIA. Look at the chart. I mean, just look at it, right? Just take a second and just take a second and just look at it, right? I mean, this is just one of those charts. Okay, you see the highs being produced. 184, 184, right? This is a pressure cooker waiting to go crazy, right? If it can clear 184, that, in my opinion, is where we get the long side continuation. Okay, 184 break and hold. This is what I'm watching for today. Upside move. Okay, if it can clear at that 184 level, this could be a nice watch today. Now, obviously, I don't want to see this happen. The worst case scenario would be this: break, fail, short, right? I would not want this to happen, but as of right now, if I see it clear and with conviction here, I'm looking for longs above 184 for an upside trade. Okay, so looking for this to happen today here on NVIDIA. Of course, if we lose 180, right? If we lose 180, we were back bearish. So at this point, either look for this, right, for downside, or this for upside, right? And there's a lot of news impacting NVIDIA right now. A lot of headlines, a lot of crazy things on NVIDIA. So you have to be careful, NVIDIA. There's things can change very quickly in NVIDIA. That's why I'm not saying all bullish here, right? There is a bear scenario here. Right now it's still bullish, but if it can clear 184, that's where we get an entry. If it clears back under 180, that's where shorts go back into, in 176 and possibly even 172. So even though this chart is bullish right now here on NVIDIA, we have to be open to trading it on the downside if the market does flip, because of course there are lots of news impacting the market, and right now CPI days are ruthless, right? You may see it's so bullish at 8:58 in the morning, but then at 9:37, oh my God, what just happened? All the bids just gave out. We're back down 10 points lower, right? So you have to be aware of where things shift in the market. And for me, where NVIDIA shifts is back simply under 180. Okay, if we're back under 180, I can look for shorts into 176 and possibly lower. If we are above 184, I'm looking for longs back higher. If you're trading NVIDIA in between the range today, in between this range, you must be aware of the demand below and the supply above. Okay, that was yesterday's session too, is sort of being aware of that. And there was supply above here, 184. That's where I think Rav was shorting yesterday. Rav shorted the supply, he shorted the supply, he shorted the supply, and it worked, right? But the idea though is we're still in range, right? So there was shorts off supply, but we still stayed in range, so we didn't get any range breaks. A range break would be above these highs or below these lows, okay? I'm not saying you can't trade the range. You could do it, right? It worked yesterday. But today, I'll be mostly focused to see can we get back underneath or above these levels for longs or shorts, okay? SMH. I mean, that's interesting, okay? We just held beautifully off that golden level here, 293. Let's see what happens here at SMH. Can this break out? 296.50 is the breakout level here on the SMH. If it can clear above 296.5, that's where upside comes in. So let's watch it today, right? Above that 296.5, we can look for sustained upside moves here. So look to see, can this chart clear back above that 296.5? If it can, upside back higher. As of right now, though, I mean, look at this. We're right back at all-time highs, right? We're right back at this all-time high level here in SMH. This is an interesting spot to watch for, right? Let's not be rhinos here pre-market. Again, CPI days are ruthless, right? Let's be aware of that. Look at what's going on here in the SMH. You can see all-time highs, all-time highs. Even though we are holding this 293 level, we're just simply back at the all-time high spot. Let's look to see if semis can clear above this level. If it can, upside persists. But as of right now, we are still underneath that big level of all-time highs, okay? Moving on. We are going to move on. Let's go over Apple. So Apple is a bull chart, right? What did we say yesterday about Apple? We said yesterday Apple 225 and 220, right? We said we had a pullback long spot here 220. We had a pullback long spot here 220. Sorry, 225 and 220, right? What should it do? Well, it maintained 225, right? This was the same level we spoke about pre-market. Nothing has changed in my chart. You can see 225 maintained, but we still have an open level of demand here, 220. So we have a few different options today. Option one is you zoom into this chart here in the 5-minute, and you look for longs above 230. If it could clear above 230, this could be a nice long spot today, back in highs. So look for that today, right? Above 230 for longs back into our 237 highs. If we fail back lower today, I still would watch for that 220 demand bounce, right? This would be still a major watch for me today's session, is that 220 demand bounce, right? And I mean, is that asking for too much? No, it's not, because this is a CPI day, right? This is a potential possibility. Longs, right? If we can pull back to this level today, I'm looking for longs off at 220 area, okay? No longer watching 225 anymore. It's not my interest. My interest is going to be either here or there, okay? Moving on, guys. We are going to move on. Let's go over Amazon. So Amazon's chart. On the Amazon chart, you can see we are holding gap fill, okay? This is an incredibly important level here. This is not one of those small, 15-minute little pre-market highs, little cute level, okay? This is the gap fill daily level, right? Let's just zoom out for a second and just reset the chart here. Go to the daily time frame and let's do a full chart reset. We'll do a full chart reset. Look how important this 220 level is. You can see 220 is right here, right? And technically, we can see what we've done is we had a gap between this 231.50 and 220 area. We saw a break and hold above 220, and right now you are seeing an incredible retention here above 220, right? You're seeing a break and retest of 220 for the gap fill play. So I don't know if this results in anything. We just see what happens here. But as of right now, this looks really good, right? You're seeing us maintain above 220, which is the gap fill level, in which case we can fill up the gap all the way to 230. So let's look to see, can Amazon hold 220? If it can, that's your upside trade, right? Could this be a little bit of an equity position? Could this be like a dollar stop under 220, right? And you target back 230, so you're risking. So at this point, you'd be looking for a long here, right? A stop under that 219.50, right? And your risk reward is back into that gap fill. 231.50. This could be an equity play, right? This could be a beautiful equity play where you're risking, about $2, right? $2.37 per share for a $9 reward. That could be an equity play, right? It could be an equity play, non-options, just trade on an equity and look for longs, right? That could be an interesting risk reward long entry on Amazon going forward. And let's see what happens here. You can trade in the short term too, right? In the option side, but on the equity side, this is what I'm seeing, okay? And of course, you're already seeing it kind of maintain, right? You saw some holds here, 220 several times, right? Look at the holds here, 220. Holds. What I would not want though, is I would not want this chart to go back to 220 again, right? I would want to see this just go now, right? This is like, reminds me of UNH, right? Reminds me of UNH. Why does this remind me of UNH? Remember UNH was sitting at support for a while. When a stock does this, it breaks down, it reclaims key support. When it reclaims key support, it consolidates for a little bit. It's fine. Consolidation is still bullish, but eventually it has to just go, okay? Because if it doesn't go, it's going to do this. It's going to do this, right? This is what UNH did. Amazon at this point has to hold 220, right? And it has to just go. It has to build above 224. You have to see this continue now, right? Just flash UNH for a second. Flash UNH reminds me just the same as this chart. And this is what I was talking about UNH for a while, and people did not like when I said it. But this is the same chart. Look at the similarities. Look at the similarities between this chart. I love trading. I love charts because I love seeing these things. Look at this chart. Beautiful flush, reclaim, long off 300, long off 300, long off 300, long off 300. Oh my God, it's a beautiful long opportunity, right? This is gonna go. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. Oh my God, what just happened, right? What happened was the chart stayed consolidated for too long. Amazon has to go. It has to go. It can't sit here for this long. It's in a very obvious gap fill level right now. It has to maintain 220 and go. If it can hold 220 and go, it's good. If it loses 220, short this fucker. Okay, excuse my language. But if it loses 220, short it, because think about everyone else that is long at this 220 level. What are they going to do if it loses 220? So if you want a long 220, do it, right? Look for longs. But if we see us lose 220, you got to look for shorts back down lower. Okay. Amazon and UNH are not different. That's the worst thing you do is confuse things, right? We're not fundamental traders here. This chart is the same thing as UNH. Of course, I think it goes. I would rather this go for us, right? I'm a bull in Amazon for me. I'm a long-term bull here in Amazon, but I want to see this just build higher, okay? You must understand the chart here in UNH and Amazon are very similar. Does it end up being different? I hope so, right? But let's watch and see what happens here at 220, okay? So, PLTR. I mean, here's on PLTR. PLTR, it's just nutty, right? I mean, it's hard for me to keep updating the same thing when it just kind of just grinds higher. I do think it pulls back at some point, like I said before, and I've been saying that for a while. Does it actually pull back? I think it does, but it's just a matter of when, right? It's a timing issue, okay? My big level of demand here is 161. I think it pulls back to 161 at some point in time, but again, as of right now, it's just all the way no man's land, okay? That's PLTR, okay? Last ticker of the day, Kava. So on the Kava chart, right, let's do a reset here on Kava. You can see we have a big level of supply here, 100. We have a big level of demand here, 73. I mean, if you look at this chart for long enough, it's really hard to ignore the elephant in the room, this head and shoulders, right? I mean, there is an incredible head and shoulders here on this chart right now. To be honest with you, I just don't see anything here. I don't see anything here right now in Kava. We are at major support. I see the bear case. I see the bull case. The bull case is we are above 73, which is major support. This was a breakout level from back in March 2024. The bear case is we are in the head and shoulders. So to be honest with you, I will tell you this, right? When I have nothing to say, I say nothing. because when I see a bear reasoning and a bull reasoning and it kind of just puts me in the middle, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to impact your bias, right? And I think it's important for me to do that. If I don't see anything with high conviction, I will just leave it alone. Because right now here on this chart, I see the bear case, head and shoulders. I see the bull case, the demand below. The question is, what's stronger? We'll find out, okay? What needs to happen is if it can clear back above 100, that's where obviously this goes back higher, okay? And I mean, of course, right? That's what would sort of invalidate the bearish head and shoulders. So look to see if this can clear back above 100. If it can, that's where this could go crazy. They have earnings though, right? This is a chart that has earnings, I believe, in the coming up, right? So be aware of that. Their earnings is yeah, you can see it's right over here. The earnings is tomorrow, right? Or it's today in the after hours. So be aware of that on this chart here, Kava. Okay, guys. Thank you all for joining in. I will see you all for live trading. Have a happy and safe CPI day. Be safe today, right? Be smart. Do the right thing. I'll see you guys all for live trading. Bye, guys.